What's up, Guardians, and welcome back, Titans. I'm Profane, thanks for checking out the video. We're back at it today with another incredible Titan build. Today's Prismatic build comes as a result of a recent adjustment to the Khepri's Horn exotic helmet. At the launch of Heresy, this exotic received a complete rework to its Solar Rampart intrinsic trait, with the intent that it would bring this exotic's performance more in line with the current sandbox. And it really did. This is a much stronger exotic that provides Titans with a lot of utility that will come into play with your survivability and your crowd clearing efficiency. When placing a barricade, you will now emit 3 solar waves that will travel 18 meters out and then double back and come back towards the barricade. These are able to strike several enemies at once, and each instance of damage is going to register for 480 points of base damage. Since the waves come back, this damage can be applied twice. Each time enemies are hit by the solar wave, they receive stacks of Scorch, which will quickly lead to ignitions, especially if they get hit twice. When enemies are hit by these solar waves, sunspots will be created. Each wave can create a sunspot, so it's possible to have as many as 3 sunspots up at once. Sunspots will inherit the Soul Invictus trait, and they will remain active for 5 seconds. Standing within the sunspot will provide you with cure and restoration, but that's not a benefit that can be shared with teammates, unless those teammates are also Titans running solar builds. When enemies stand in the sunspots, they will take additional Scorch damage, so between the Scorch that the solar waves create, added into the Scorch that the sunspots create, we'll be able to trigger several deadly ignitions in succession. This is an incredible upgrade in functionality for the Khepri's Horn that's made it an even more viable option than the Lorelei Splendor. In addition to the extra solar waves and sunspots, you will gain additional class ability energy whenever defeating enemies with any source of solar damage. This has a 1-second cooldown, but this will provide us with 15% extra energy with each application. So even without the use of any armor mods or fragments, we're going to be able to have our barricade energy back extremely fast. The only caveat to these benefits, other than the fact that the Khepri's Horn is one of the ugliest exotics, is that we need to have a solar super equipped, which means that when we use this with Prismatic, we will need to have Hammer of Soul equipped. We would have a lot of extra synergy with things like Scorch, Ignitions, and Restoration whenever using Khepri's on a solar subclass. But with Prismatic, we open this exotic up to a lot more versatility, because we can add even more power-ups to our barricade, like Dringer's Lash. So not only would we apply tons of Scorch damage onto enemies with all of the solar waves and sunspots, but we'll be trapping them in place with all of our strained suspensions. And since we can have up to 3 back-to-back Consecrations to use on Prismatic, we can follow our solar waves up with Consecrations to recharge our barricade, creating a nice little loop of energy exchange, and that's going to be an extremely effective combo to use against heavy waves of enemies and high-ranking enemies like champions. This gives Titans a lot more versatility in their gameplay, because it's no longer just about smashing everything with constant consecrations, but it's about maintaining the flow of each engagement with well-timed barricades that are going to release a powerful combination of solar and strand effects, which will immobilize and extinguish our enemies before they even get a chance to touch you. We are going to lose out on the benefits of knockout whenever going with Dringer's Lash, which means we're not going to get the stacking melee damage bonus, and we're not going to get the health back on melee final blows, but we've got other resources that can provide us with similar benefits. We do have the option of using Khepri's through the Spirit of the Horn, which is found on Titan's exotic class item, but we would lose out on the bonus ability Regen. We're doubling down on our ability to suspend enemies by running Shackle grenades. And between our barricade, our grenade, and all of our ignitions, we're going to be able to effectively handle unstoppable and barrier champions. We'll become even more effective against barrier champions with our first Prismatic Fragment, which is Facet of Dawn, and that's going to grant us with Radiance whenever we strike enemies with our Consecration. This will provide our weapons with the ability to pierce barrier shields, along with a 20% increase in damage, and that's going to last for 5 seconds. We're also using Facet of Courage, so once we've gotten enemies suspended, all sources of light damage will gain a 10% increase. Since we don't have Knockout providing us with health back, we have elected to go with Faceted Blessing. So whenever we secure melee final blows, our health regeneration will immediately kick in. We've also got the Faceted Purpose, so whenever we collect Orbs of Power, we'll trigger 4 seconds of Restoration, which is going to provide us with 35 points of health per second. We've got the Heavy-Handed Gloves mod, creating orbs whenever we land powered melee final blows. We've got Helmet Siphon mods to create orbs off of weapon kills, and the Reaper Class Item mod, creating orbs after we use our Barricade. So we're going to become a fountain of orbs, helping us and allies build up supers faster, maintain weapon surges longer, and reap the benefit of different healing resources. Our final fragment is the Faceted Balance, which will provide us with bonus melee and bonus grenade energy. As we defeat enemies with light-based energies, we'll gain melee energy, helping us have our Consecration slams back faster. But when we defeat enemies with dark-based energies, we'll gain grenade energy, helping us recharge those Shackle grenades. Because we will be creating a lot of ignitions, it would be beneficial to use Facet of Ruin to increase the effective range of those ignitions, but I find more benefit in having our abilities back faster so that we can keep enemies scorched and suspended. To get the most benefit out of Khepri's, we will need to incorporate solar weapons into this build. So before we check out what useful artifact mods we've got, let's check out our choice in weaponry. Legendary weapons with Incandescent and Heal Clip will be great to include, as this will extend on our ability to stay alive, and to inflict as much damage onto our enemies as possible. With sidearms receiving the ability to pierce barrier champion shields this season, the Aberrant Action would make for a very strong option. There's also the BXR, the Abyss Defiant, the Heliocentric, and several other great primary options that would still work out great, especially since Radiance would still make those weapons effective against barrier champs. With unstoppable champions getting handled by fusion rifles, weapons like the Eremite and Cartesian Coordinate become very appealing options. When it comes to exotic options, our number one choice is the Dragon's Breath. This lays down a bed of sustained solar damage that will trigger several ignitions, which means we're going to be able to charge up our barricades even faster. The Dragon's Breath pumps out a ton of damage, and it allows you to keep using your primary and special weapons, and as you defeat enemies with it, you'll generate fire sprites. Fire sprites that are going to grant additional grenade energy, helping you keep enemies suspended. With some of the new artifact mods that we have, it would be beneficial for us to run the Sleeper Simulant, or even the Xenophage. Because of the Particle Reconstruction mod, fusion rifles will gain increased damage and partial reloading of the magazine whenever applying sustained damage to a single target, and that's where the Sleeper Simulant, the Eremite, and Cartesian Coordinate could all step in and be dominating options for optimal damage. But there's also Hold the Line, which would grant us with bonus health regeneration whenever we defeat enemies with heavy machine guns, and heavy ordnance regeneration, which will give us increased damage resistance, bonus melee energy, and bonus grenade energy whenever maintaining sustained fire onto targets with any heavy machine gun. But this also includes rocket launchers, which means we'd be able to get that bonus resistance and ability regen whenever using Dragon's Breath. There's quite a few strand-focused artifact mods right now, so we could give strand weapons the ability to unravel enemies, or to create hatchlings, and for those strand weapons that have slice or tear, we could even enhance the benefits of sever. Sever is such a key component towards your success in tougher content. Once enemies are severed, they deal 40% less damage, so if we can include that benefit into this build, we would be doing nothing but helping ourselves out. The Call and the Scatter Signal are two big standouts in that department, as each of these can drop with Slice, and both are going to be able to play into our other artifact mods. The improved performance of the Khepris is one of the most impressive exotic reworks in Heresy. This exotic is so much more effective than it ever was before, and it's become extremely effective here in Heresy. So if you haven't checked out the new and improved Khepri's Horn, then you really need to do so. And once you've checked it out, let me know which subclass that you preferred using it on, Solar or Prismatic. Let us know down in the comments. And if you need any help getting this build set up, then be sure to check out my Mobalytics and dim links that are down below. I wish you all the best of luck throughout your journeys here in Heresy. Thank you as always for checking out today's video. If you enjoyed and found it helpful, then be sure to hit that like button below, along with the subscribe button if you're new. Both are greatly appreciated, and both really do help support the channel. And until next time, Guardians, this has been Profane, wishing you all some happy hunting.